Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a seriously chilling tale of dark magic, obsession, and the absolute nightmare that unfolds when you cross boundaries you really don't understand. Get comfortable, because things are about to get very dark. Let's get started.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the contrast between how this story starts and where it ends is just staggering. We're breaking down a narrative that forces us to ask, how on earth does a completely routine midnight cab ride turn into a full-blown demonic possession? Like, what are the actual mechanics behind this nightmare? Well, let's retrace the steps.
Section 1. A Fateful Midnight Ride. Our explainer kicks off by following a pretty exhausted 24-year-old rideshare driver named Rahul. He drives for an app called Zopato, and you know how it is, he's just looking for one last route to close out his night, make a few extra bucks, and head home. Picture the scene. It's 10 p.m., there's a cold breeze blowing, dogs are barking off in the distance, and the road is completely, utterly desolate. When Rahul finally pulls up to the pin drop, he picks up his passenger, a beautiful, modern young woman named Shruti. And right there, under those dim streetlights, Rahul is hit with this instant, overwhelming infatuation. I mean, he is completely captivated by her.
And this brilliantly illustrates the perfect dramatic irony for the horror that's about to unfold. As they're driving down this super dark, empty stretch of road, Rahul tries to play it safe. He warns her that roads like this are notorious for ghosts and supernatural dangers. Shruti's response? She literally just laughs it off. She claims she absolutely 100% does not believe in the supernatural. She's just blissfully unaware of what's waiting for her.
Section 2. The Unseen Terror. So Rahul drops her off safely. He's feeling a bit heartbroken that the ride's over. But now, we're shifting our perspective entirely to Shruti. We are dropping right into her terrifying isolation later that exact same night. She goes to sleep, but boom, at exactly 2 a.m. she is jolted awake. The room is completely empty, right? But there is this overwhelming, weird, foul smell just filling the air. Next thing she knows, there's a loud, really aggressive knocking at her window. She pulls back the curtain, and there is nothing there, just dead silence. But then, out of nowhere, a bat comes flying in and violently crashes into the glass. The impact is so hard that blood literally starts oozing down the window pane. Her heart is pounding, she can physically feel an unseen presence in the room, but she's way too terrified to even scream for her parents. She just squeezes her eyes shut and hides.
Section 3. Descent into madness. Because the terror doesn't just stop when the sun comes up.
What makes this so fascinating and honestly terrifying is how the haunting rapidly evolves. It goes from standard late-night jump scares into a complete, systematic behavioral takeover. We can track her symptoms here almost like a medical chart for a supernatural infection. Morning 1, she's super distracted at the breakfast table, constantly checking her phone, just waiting for the Zopato app. Fast forward a few days, her parents realize she's been skipping college entirely. She's super secretive, sneaking off with this mysterious driver. And then comes the final morning, a massive, violent outburst. She's trashing her room, screaming at the top of her lungs, just completely unhinged. Her terrified parents rush in to calm her down, and she screams this absolute chiller of a line, "I don't know any Shruti. I just want Rahul. If he doesn't come, I will end my life." Just pause and think about the sheer psychological weight of that statement. This isn't just a girl with a crush. This is a complete and total loss of her own identity to whatever entity is latched onto her. It gets so bad her parents actually have to tie her to a chair just for her own physical safety. But later, when they walk back into her dark room, they find a scene straight out of a nightmare. Shruti has somehow pulled off this bizarre, superhuman escape from thick ropes. She's just sitting in the corner, her face is deathly pale, her pupils are shrunken down to these tiny little dots, and she lets out this terrifying, soul-chilling laugh, all while holding a jagged shard of broken glass right to her own throat. For her parents, this was the absolute confirmation. This was no ordinary psychological breakdown.
Section 4. The dark secret revealed. At this point, her parents know medical science isn't gonna cut it. They bring in a spiritual expert, Pahariwali Baba, and they forcefully dragged Rahul into the house demanding answers. Rahul is standing there totally confused and defensive. He's like, "Look, I thought we just had a mutual connection. She was the one messaging me all the time. She was getting attached." But then the spiritual expert drops the horrifying twist. It wasn't love. Shruti wasn't just obsessed. An actual pretny, a demonic entity, had been forcefully implanted into her consciousness to manipulate her mind. Rahul is just stunned. So, the crucial point here is understanding the actual mechanism behind this. The spiritual expert identifies this dark magic as Vashikaran. Now, for those unfamiliar, Vashikaran is an ancient dark spiritual practice. It's essentially a form of black magic aimed specifically at controlling someone's mind, completely stripping away their free will, and forcefully attracting them to a specific person. It's a spiritual hijack.
Under intense pressure, Rahul finally cracks and confesses. And honestly, it is terrifyingly simple how this whole nightmare was triggered. On his way home, that very first night, obsessed with Shruti, he spotted this random, sketchy advertisement pinned to a tree offering granted desires. So, he texted the number. The instructions he got back were so mundane it was almost like making a casual online purchase. Step 1, text your desire. Step 2, send the victim's photo. Step 3, pay the fee once you see the results. He literally just grabbed her photo from social media and sent it off without a second thought. Section 5, the price of black magic. And this brings us to the ultimate cautionary theme of this explainer.
Because using dark shortcuts to manipulate someone's free will always comes with terrifying consequences. Rahul got his wish, sure, but he forgot one incredibly vital step. Now, what's really interesting about this is the actual number, 5,000 rupees. That was the fee, a totally petty amount. Rahul got exactly what he wanted, Shruti's undivided attention, but he completely forgot to pay this tiny fee to the practitioners. And in the underground world of dark magic, that unpaid debt is exactly what mutated the attraction spell into a violent, suicidal, demonic possession.
The expert lays out a very harsh reality. Practitioners of dark magic literally never forget their conditions. When you dabble in cheap dark magic just out of selfish, fleeting desire, you don't just manipulate someone else. You trap them and you trap yourself. Rahul's seemingly innocent, reckless mistake nearly cost a young woman her life, twisting a simple spell into a deadly curse. Let's move to the timeline and see how this builds into a really long, painful aftermath. Because this wasn't a quick fix. Even after the truth came out and the immediate spell was broken, it took Bahariwale Baba 3 to 4 grueling months to perform the exorcism and actually heal Shruti. But you want to know the truly creepy detail? Even today, in the present, having absolutely no memory of these events, Shruti still occasionally, unconsciously, whispers Rahul's name. The Vashikara never truly left her 100%. It left a permanent scar. Okay, to lighten the mood just a tiny bit before we close out, I have to point out this really fun meta note from the creator of the original horror story. Right at the peak of the terror, the creator pauses to share a real-life, frankly terrifying statistic about their own audience. 98% of the people consuming their content aren't subscribed. It's such a brilliant little pivot, treating their call to action like a factual footnote right at the end of a fictional nightmare.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, we are left with a story that is equal parts a supernatural thriller and a really deep psychological warning. It forces us to take a hard look at the ethics of our own wants, which leaves me with a final thought for you. When you're faced with a shortcut to getting exactly what you want, are you willing to pay the ultimate, terrifying price for your darkest desires? Think carefully before you answer. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep your curiosity sharp.